Well, the Trump administration will decide this week whether to keep pushing for an end to the war in Ukraine. Now, that's according to Secretary of State Marco Rubio. His comments were made just one day after President Trump met with Ukraine's President Zelensky in Vatican City. And it comes also as President Trump says Russian President Vladimir Putin may be stringing him along regarding a permanent ceasefire following bombings in Ukraine just days ago. NewsNation's Robert Sherman is following all of these developments, joins us now live from Rome. So, Robert, the president's still hoping to keep his promise of ending this war.
Yeah, that's why this is such a big critical week here, Kelly, although the White House acknowledging publicly that they have a lot of frustrations right now with both the leadership in Ukraine as well as in Russia. But the world is feeling a little bit better about how all this could go, particularly after you saw that meeting taking place here in Rome, Vatican City, St. Peter's Basilica with President Trump and President Zelensky. You see that photo there? That's going to be one for the history books. That intimate conversation taking place between these two world leaders, particularly after you saw the way the last meeting descended into a shouting match with Vice President J.D. Vance, President Trump, and President Zelensky. So that's why people are feeling better about the present situation when it comes to these negotiations. And in terms of if he believes the Ukrainians are ready to make a deal, the president said this.
Is Zelensky ready to give up Crimea, do you think, Mr. President?
Oh, I think so, yeah. Look, Crimea was 12 years ago. That was President Obama. They gave it up without a shot being fired. So don't talk to me about Crimea. Talk to Obama and Biden about Crimea.
I was just wondering what Zelensky thought.
And remember, this is Biden's war. This isn't Trump's war. I came in to try and solve a problem. And the problem is so many people are being killed.
That is the big conversations, Crimea, and what would the Ukrainians be willing to do in order to make a deal. And that's why the White House says they're going to be watching both Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky very intently. What they really want to see is, do either of those leaders truly have an appetite to make a deal? We heard from Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who said if they don't, well, the United States is prepared to walk away if that proves to be the case. Kelly?
Yeah, that's a big question at this hour. Robert, would you mind outlining again why Crimea is such a sticking point in all of this?
Yeah, I mean, it's important to remember that over a decade ago, Crimea was annexed by the Russians. That took place, under a previous administration. That was under the Obama administration. But when we would meet Ukrainians on the ground, they would never view Crimea as being lost or Russian territory. It has, to this day, from the opinion of many Ukrainians, still been their territory that they want back. And there was this sentiment that we would get when we were on the ground in Ukraine, when you talk to everyday people there, that they did not want to see the war end until Crimea, the Donbass, some of these other territories were returned to them as well. That being said, you've seen the direction that the war has gone in recent years, and we have heard from more Ukrainians who seem to be a bit more understanding of the possibility that Crimea does not go back to Ukraine because it's been under Russian control for so long. Kelly?
All right, Robert Sherman reporting live from Rome. Robert, as always, thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.